you know,
Sorry.
got it. You know, and how do you get into the right headset or headspace to start your business? Then last week it was like brass tacks, like, okay, well, what are you doing and who's it for and how are you going to get there? But this week we're taking it back a little bit to the why, you know, that we talked about in the first week, but taking that why and articulating it in business terms. So, you know, I have this great idea, but I don't know where to start. I don't know if you guys have read Atomic Habits by James Clear, but it's a great book. Even if you don't have time to read it, if you sign up for his newsletter once a week, he'll send you some, like 3-2-1 is the name of his newsletter. And it's these great tips on and quotes. So sort of a mindset, which is interesting. But this is pulled from this book. Finish something, anything. Stop researching, planning, and preparing to do the work and just do the work. It doesn't matter how good or how bad it is. You don't need to set the world on fire with your first try. You just need to prove to yourself that you have what it takes to produce something. There are no artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, or scientists who became great by half finishing their work. So stop debating what you should make and just make something. So that sort of goes against what we talked about last week, which was plan and research to reduce your risk. But you know, one of the things that Carissa made a point to say our first week was fail forward. You know, don't let fear of failure stop you from trying, and learn from what goes right and what doesn't go right. You know, you try it, it doesn't go well, you don't give up, you try again. So each time something comes up and it's like, ooh, okay, that didn't go how I planned it, use it as a stepping stone to move forward in your process. So I loved when she talked about that. Stay nimble. Really, you know, we've talked a lot about points of difference as you guys are going forward, as you see new things in the market. Oh, I meant to say too, that in terms of market research, one of the best places to see food trends is actually Trader Joe's. Whatever seasonal ingredients they have, you know, so suddenly they have, you know, tteokbokki, they have like, you know, Korean rice cakes in their frozen food aisle. So when you start to see them putting stuff into rotation, you're like, okay, that's a trend. So use other people's smart research to drive your own, and stay nimble. You know, as you're going and you're going forward and you're learning more and you're doing the work. You know, I thought actually, Belinda, I thought you made a really good comment last time we were together, which was, oh, you know, I've got to make this, it's the saleable thing. I can't just make it what I want to make it. I have to make it what I want to make it for this audience who's going to buy it. And so in terms of staying nimble, we're going to talk about what are the most important things for us in our mission and our vision. And within that, those will be our guardrails. But within those guardrails, we can pivot. So, you know, Janet, for example, if you find that suddenly the kimchi do-it-yourself marketplace is really saturated, you'll add on other products, right? Okay, well, so fine, here, make your own kombucha, make your own pickles. Here's all the kits for you. You know, you start to expand and or be flexible in your thinking there to keep your idea going forward. And then this last one might seem a little strange. The audition is the job. A friend of mine is an actor, and she said, you know, acting's not the job, the audition is the job. You know, I have to go in and audition every time and give it my best and really convince the people in the room that I'm right for this role. And that's my job. Once I get hired, then I can do the job of acting. But really right now, the audition is the job. So for you guys, while we're working together over these next 12 weeks and you're thinking about your business, it's, you know, shopping the idea to the right people, you know, investors, or, you know, Jasmine's not on today, but, you know, taking her pickles into a sandwich shop and saying, hey, what do you think of this? Or, you know, giving out samples of your cookies, getting your product auditioning in front of the right people, or hosting a tasting and inviting people to be real with you, you know, have sheets, get ratings for the catering dishes that you're making. Like right now, that's the job for you guys, is fleshing out your thoughts on your business to make it really saleable. Okay. Anybody have any thoughts or questions before I move on? Okay. Okay. So what does success look like? I think when I work with my clients, I ask them, what are your goals? You know, do you want to have 20 locations? Do you want to have, you know, be the best chef in your town? What does success look like? What are our goals? And in order to build those goals, you have to start thinking about like, okay, well, what do I want? Like, what is the biggest vision for myself? And it's really different for every person. You know, for Blanca and Tasha, it might be, I've built this organization that employs people, gives them skills, and does good for my community. That might be success. For other people, it's purely financial. Like, hey, I want to create financial stability for my family and for myself and for the people that work for me. It could be personal. I want to build something of my own that I'm proud of, that I can point to and say, I did it myself. So, you know, success is going to be different for every person, but it's, you know, important to define it and to say at this point, and again, everything that we do will evolve, but, you know, what will it be? What will that thing have been that happens where I'm like, I did it, like I made it. Because then when you get there, you get to make your next goal. You get to make your next vision of what success looks like. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to, because our presentation is shorter this week than last week, I'm going to give you guys a minute to just think about it and jot some notes down on what success looks like. And I'll just get my clock going. Ooh, sorry, that was really loud. Sorry. I'll use the stopwatch next time. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to share? Something that would be, oh, Belinda, please.
Well, before even seeing, you know, your slide here, the word I did it. So as I've gotten older, my I guess my definition has evolved as far as what I feel is success. And so what I was writing down was success to me is legacy, leaving a legacy in the history, which kind of ties in together. But when I was younger, it was a fear of the failure that why I would never, you know, step out and do this business. And I would, go a little far, go out and it didn't go so well, and then I would stop. So it was always about like what people would say, about me as far as, oh, I thought you had a business, or I thought you had, whatever happened to that catering business. So it was always that, like, what other people thought about me. But now my success really is about I did it. Whether there's a failure, whether it did not go 100% the way I planned it, I think for me, there is room to grow from those experiences. So I said that it is also my success is also defined as failure, but it's overriding the fear, just overriding that fear, because to step out and go beyond the fear is success for me. Just so, I can say for myself that I did it. And I do see people that I encourage by saying, wow, I would have never done that. Or, oh, wow, I can't believe you're doing that, or just people drawing that encouragement. So it helps me, I don't know, it just helps me see it differently, see it from a different perspective, instead of what people, then I guess the negative connotation of the failure part, but actually drawing strength from those failures and encouraging other people to step out.
I love that. That's actually a really beautiful sentiment. And I loved how you talked about this kind of shift of the fear of other people, you know, kind of what they think or what they might say, and the focus on yourself, which is, okay, yeah, but like, I'll know I did it because I didn't let fear stop me. And this course is actually the first step in that, right? Because you're getting all these tools that will help you mitigate the fear and the risk because you'll be prepared, one, but also you'll have a crew of people that you can lean on who believe in you. So I think that's really powerful too. Anybody else want to talk about what success looks like for them? No, I'm just scrolling through the gallery so I can see everybody. No. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so last week we talked about, you know, who we're for, you know, what our points of difference are, and there's something that we call the sweet spot. So, you know, just like when you're about to start a workout, you have to take a few steps like stretching and warming up to prepare yourself to get to the hard work. And so we need to take a few steps to prepare ourselves mentally to start a new business. Staying focused will help create a clear business strategy. So all of the work that we were doing last week is this week, we're going to build on it. And what we call the sweet spot is the intersection of what you care about, core values, what you're great at, better than anybody else, and what your customer needs, wants, and expects from your business. So this little green area right there is the sweet spot. And you know, last week, Jasmine brought up potentially making her own vinegars to go with her pickles. And my question to her would be, does your customer care about it? So this little chart over here is focusing your resources on what's important to you, to your customers that you can do well. So if it's important to them and you do it really well, talk about it all the time. You know, you love this, we're great at it, let's talk about it. If it's important to them and you don't do it very well, then you have to address it and fix it or come up with reasoning, you know, why it is the way it is. If your customer doesn't care about it, then it, you know, it might be part of your mission to do it that way, but it's a balance of resources. So for example, if it's your core value to always have organic ingredients, then that's your, you know, that's your core value. Typically that is important to your audience, but if it wasn't important to your audience for whatever reason, but you're spending extra money and time and hardship sourcing those items, whatever that is, then it's just something to look at as a place that if you're not getting credit for it, it doesn't necessarily make sense to spend a lot of time, energy, money, resources on doing it. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, yes, please. Belinda.
Sorry, I'm trying to like get to my little microphone. Okay, because you said something really, okay, because organic, sourcing locally, going to the farmer's market, like I really care about that. My thing is I won't serve you something that I myself would not eat or I would not put into my body. And to hear you say that about, okay, because there's a, you know, small percentage of people like, oh, great, organic, thank you, I appreciate that. And then of course there's others that's like, yeah, whatever. So yeah, how do I'm very, very intentional about what you know, my integrity. Like if I say if this is what's in it, I want you to know that you know, I'm going to show you like, hey, this is the farmer that I actually buy it from. This is where I go so I do put a lot of work and thought and time and energy. And I do kind of feel like sometimes it is like wasted, but I feel that also that there is that, even if it is that small market of people that like really appreciate it and really get it, that to me is success, is still rewarding. So how do I balance that where it's like, okay, you are spending a lot of time for very little profit or very little, you know?
Well, look, I'm going to just tell all of you this, is that you've got your core values that you have to be true to. But as you define the core values for your business, this is an important matrix to think about. And for example, restaurants who care about sourcing and care about organic typically make a priority list. It's not realistic for large restaurant groups to have absolutely everything organic because it's just not realistic. They're not going to find organic salt, for example. So it's just what they'll do is they'll focus on what's called the dirty dozen. So kind of the 12 biggest, pesticide holders, and say, these are always organic. Other things are organic where feasible, which might be price or season, right? If it's as available. Same thing with local. So that's how big groups do it. If you say, I know 100%, this is my core value and I will not budge on it, then Belinda, it's really important for you to find a target audience that's willing to pay for it. And so it's one or the other. That's how you find that balance is you set your values and then you say, okay, this is it, but you have to make sure that you're playing in this space, or at least this space, like this larger one, because that's how you'll be successful financially, and is that you find people willing to pay for it. And so that's sort of I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts on that.
But thank you.
Share
It makes
opinion.
sense.
Yeah, sure. Please, Tasha, go ahead. Thanks, Belinda.
So I'm in like a very similar situation because I do believe in sourcing and fair trade, all of that stuff, but I am limited because I don't have that. There's a lot of finances that come into play when you start to, unfortunately, get quality. But I do believe that if there are certain things that I can purchase that are hands down, I know it's better when it's organic, or I know it's better when it's bought with a certain person, or if there's a fair trade mark on it, it gives me more peace because I know that industry is a little bit more corrupt than the others. Unfortunately, a lot of our corporate industries are very corrupt. That's a whole other topic. But yeah, so I've had that problem, and there was an essay I had to do on this gentleman that opened a business in Pasadena, and he purposely uses cacaos from he built a relationship with the cacao farmer to make sure that it was fair trade.
Tasha, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if other people can hear you. Can you guys hear Tasha?
Okay. Maybe I
Oh no, you're back. You're back now. Yeah, I think you're back now. But it sounded like you were saying that he had a partnership with a cacao provider that was fair trade.
Yes. That is part of his mission, that everything be certified fair, but he only talked about the cacao. He meant about the other ingredients. He never mentioned the flour he used for the stock.
Tasha, I don't think we're getting the full benefit of your story. It sounds like, can anybody else hear her? Just very mechanical. No, okay. Tasha, maybe we can circle back when you have better reception.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. But back to the back to the point is that you don't want to compromise your values. And so either you have to target the audience that's willing, that cares about it enough to have that be your point of difference, or you have to say, okay, I'll do my best within these parameters to make a viable financial model. And so I know that that's not the Disney version of it, but that is really the truth. And so you'll often see restaurants that open, or obviously restaurants are my area of expertise, that open and say, okay, we're all organic. And then within 6 months they say, okay, we are mostly organic because there's the reality of even supply chain. Like even if you really wanted it to, what happens is then you say, okay, well, we can't offer this item because we couldn't get organic this week, especially for small startups. It can be really hard for supply chain. So, but the great news is that using this framework, we're going to talk about these things now, the core values, is helpful in shaping your point of difference. And how do you talk about your business? Because if you're making things from scratch, if you're sourcing from special places, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Because if you talk about it, the people who care about that will find you. Okay, building your business foundation. Okay, so this week we're talking about mission, vision, and values. Some of this work you've done preliminarily in the previous couple of weeks. We're just going to kind of pull it together into a great statement. And then also talk about business goals and deadlines. And, there's lots of ways to pull these things together. And so we started with, what does success look like? Because once you have like this, and go big, like whatever that is for you, then you can start to set goals to lead to that. So all of these things work backward and forward, helping you think about where you want to go and how you're going to get there. So who here has done vision and mission statements before in their day life, their day job? Okay, Tracy.
It wasn't for a job, but I did it for college.
Okay. Wait, who was that?
Oh, it's Marcy, by the way.
Oh, okay, great. Marcella, great, thanks. Okay, so you've done it before for college. Tracy has done it for work. I'm sorry, I'm at a disadvantage because of my view. Anybody else? Okay.
I've
Blanca?
seen vision and mission and vision statement, but through the nonprofit I work at.
Okay, great. So it sounds like some of us have some familiarity with it. And we don't have to be precious about it. There's not like, oh, this is right or this is wrong. People often use them interchangeably, but essentially vision and mission statements should articulate the essence of your company's beliefs and values, and then define its positioning, its place in the world. They both establish short, medium, and long-term directions that can guide every aspect of your organization's operations. So sort of the most common way I've seen it described is that a mission statement expresses an organization's optimal goal and reason for existence. And a vision statement provides an overview of the organization's plans to realize that mission as an aspirational statement that outlines long-term objectives and goals over time. So I've got some examples. I know that's a little nebulous. So if your mission is, the best mission statements clearly convey a company's reason for being in language that's very human. And it helps your audience connect with you. So, we've talked a lot about mission statement words before, right? So I care about my community. I care about providing nutritious food to people in my neighborhood, right? These are mission statements that we've made with our words, but now we're going to think about it strategically based on some of the business things that we've written out and put it into a written statement. And don't feel intimidated if you're not a great writer. I mean, I know Blanca, I know you're a writer. You guys are all fantastic communicators. So just say it to yourself and write it down. You don't have to, and I think that's sort of the exceedingly human part, is that this isn't like very elaborate language. This is like, what's your why? So your voice is the most important element of the mission statement, and your mission statement should reflect the culture and the unique voice of your company. So best mission statements have in common, it says, what does your company do? Why are you doing it? And how you're doing it. Okay, so now let's see. This is, Maybelline, do you want to read it?
Yes, I'll read it. Hold on. Sorry about that. Let me just make my screen bigger because my internet connection is not very good today.
No worries.
Oh. Okay, so CLA's mission is to build sustainable food systems and promote social and cultural activities that benefit both low to moderate income and residents of Los Angeles, while also supporting California's small and mid-sized farms and local businesses.
Okay, great mission, right? And they're helping create small businesses too. Okay, so now how are you going to write your mission statement? So you can do this on your own. You can do it with anybody that you're thinking about starting your business with, or people that you care about who you think are smart. And it often helps to start by listing keywords. So I know, like I just mentioned, Blanca, I know you talked about community, you talked about employment and opportunity for young people. So you can just start with putting down the words that are important to you. And once you start to put them down, sometimes you'll see overlap, because community and employment opportunities for local kids starts to kind of overlap. So you can condense it as you go once you start listing things that have some commonalities. So there's some questions on this slide. There's some questions on the next slide. There's some questions on your worksheet. All of them are just designed to make you think. And you can go back to the work you did the first week, which is, what is your why? Why are you doing this? And draw inspiration from there too, if you need to. Okay, so I'm going to read these questions, and then I'm going to let you guys have a minute to write some. I'm going to change the slide though after I read these, because there's more questions on the next slide. But we'll just take a minute to think about it. So, what is your company's main purpose? What are your strengths? Why does what you're building matter? What are your company's most ambitious goals? And what impact do you want to make with your company? Okay, and then here's another, same ideas, different format. Why does your company exist? What value do our products or services bring to consumers? What core beliefs guide our work? We're going to talk about beliefs a little bit later too. What makes our company different, better, or more inspiring than our competitors? Okay, I will give you guys a minute. Set my timer. Okay. Does anybody want to share what they wrote down? Belinda, did you have your hand up?
I do.
Okay, great.
And actually, I have something already written, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I definitely need to restructure mine because Chloe doesn't fall anywhere near these guidelines. So, okay, so I'm working on my website that hasn't been launched yet, and I have my co-mission statement and purpose statement. So let's just see. I'll let you. Okay, so.
Don't be nervous.
So, yeah, okay, it's fine because this is good because I'm definitely need to restructure it. Okay, so I have on the website a co-mission. And so I said our co-mission is to co-resource with small minority-owned businesses and become the nationally recognized, synergetic, interdependent, entrepreneurial community collaboration kitchen. And then the purpose is to provide education and build thriving communities through healing whole plant meals prepared with fresh, seasonal ingredients and holistic herbs that help combat the overwhelming growth of disease in our community.
That's great. What's wrong with that?
You tell me.
No, nothing. That's great. Whether you use the word mission or purpose or vision, the idea is to write it down. What is your why? Why will people care about you? How do people understand who you are and what you care about? What is it that we can put out there that really explains it? Because people start businesses all the time for really passionate reasons, but if you don't communicate those points to them, then they don't know. But so I thought that was great, Belinda, and it's a really great start. I think if you feel like it needs to evolve based on where you think you're going to go with your business, okay. But I thought it was clear and good. I don't know if anybody else had thoughts or a reaction to that. No, looks like, does anybody else want to share anything that they wrote down? Okay, well, I won't call you guys out. I'll move on to the next one. Okay, so we started with our mission. We've written some things down. Now we're going to talk about our vision. So business vision, your business vision isn't just a statement. It's a future impact that you can passionately envision for yourself and your community through your business. So the vision statement is intended as a guide to help an organization make decisions that align with their philosophy and declared goals. It can be thought of as a roadmap to where the company wants to be within a certain time frame. And it sets a broader strategic plan for the organization. So for context, a vision statement looks towards the future, while a mission statement talks about what the company is doing now and what it cares about. Your vision describes your company's long-term goal and should inspire you, your team, and your audience. So a strong business vision is motivating and inspirational or aspirational. It should reflect your company's culture and core values, and it should define your company's reason for existence and where it's heading. I think the next slide is examples. Yes, okay, great. Okay, so I've just pulled two examples from companies that everybody knows. It's Nike and Spotify. I hope you all know Spotify. I'll start with Nike because it's shorter. So Nike's mission statement is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. So that's, what they care about and what they do. And their vision statement is to unite the world through sport to create a healthy planet, active communities, and an equal playing field for all. So that's a little aspirational, right? That they're not actually doing that. That's their hope. This is what they're hoping for. Spotify's is, I think, a little clunkier, but also I think a good contrast between like a mission and a vision. But again, the way Belinda had hers laid out as this is our purpose, this is what we care about. It's less important to have these sort of corporate labels on these phrases than it is for you guys to think about these things and to frame it for yourself in the best way that works for you and for what you're trying to do. Okay, Spotify, their mission statement, so kind of what they're doing with their product, is to unlock the potential of human creativity by giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity to live off their art and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by these creators. So their vision statement for the future is we envision a cultural platform. So that's kind of different, right? They're not saying we're a music streaming service. They envision a cultural platform where professional creators can break free of their medium's constraints and where everyone can enjoy an immersive artistic experience that enables us to empathize with each other and to feel part of a greater whole. So, I mean, that's a pretty big vision. So, these are just some examples of mission versus vision. And a Google search will show you hundreds more if that's helpful for you. But again, just to reiterate, the most important thing is for you guys to kind of go through the worksheet and just define what's important for you and what your vision is for your company today and also in the long term. Like, what do you want to do with it? I just want to take a pause to take questions. If you have questions about any of this or concerns about how to get there, this might be a good moment to chat. Emiko, how are you doing?
Yeah, when I think about the mission and vision, kind of same ideas are coming from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit confused what's the difference, but what you're saying is that mission is something we are caring about now in the present, and vision is something we want to do for future, right? So yeah, it's kind of difficult to.
Yeah. So Emiko, for example, your mission statement might be, I'm just making this up, to introduce fantastic, fluffy Japanese pancakes to the people of LA. right? So that might be your mission.
Yeah.
And your vision might be, with my food and my cafe, will create a safe space for people to come and connect with each other over delicious food,
Mhm.
and creative beverages. So there's like the first step and then where you want to go with it. So, but don't let it hold you back. If you have just one statement that puts it all together, that's fine too.
Okay.
It's more important to think about what you care about and what you want to do with your business than it is to get hung up on mission and vision.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Janet.
I think I'm wondering if I can share what I came up with.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I said the mission is to build the interest in Korean cooking at home, cooking Korean at home. Our products are a bridge between the traditional techniques and flavors to the modern interests in Korean cuisine, in cooking Korean cuisine. The vision is to connect the world through the shared love language of food, through playful and approachable techniques and recipes.
That's great. That's a really good start. And I think too, what I heard was for home cooks, right? You're making it accessible for people to do themselves. This thing that seems intimidating. You look at a jar of kimchi, you think, well, I don't know how to make that. I would say what you've said in the past that you might want to incorporate is helping home cooks turn their fresh vegetables into this fantastic condiment. So there might be something there. I don't know if that's right for you, but it's something that you mentioned before as being important to you. So it might have a place there. Stephanie, Marcy, Blanca, just giving you guys a chance to ask questions. You don't feel like you have to share, but I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with the idea of mission and vision before we keep going.
I was working on both the mission and vision statement together right now.
Okay.
My mission is South LA mission is to provide both youth and young adults employment opportunities while creating fresh drinks made with vegan ingredients. And then for my vision, I was thinking about the vision is to create a safe workplace where all are welcome and have the chance to grow, whether inside the business or creating their own business idea or following their dream, while stay connected through food.
That's great. Yeah, I love that, Blanca. And I think that you've hit on all of your important notes. The only thing that I remember from you saying earlier that may or may not have a place in that was when you kind of talked about using the pineapple peels, for example, to make tapache. I think there was something for you about connecting people to food and learning about how to make things with food, especially from the farmer's market, or reducing food waste. There were a couple of other things there that might be part of that for you.
Yeah, I was keeping that one in mind too, but I was like going off with different scenarios and ideas right now. But thank you for reminding me that.
It's a lot. It can be like a word sandwich. It's just like, okay, how many things do I have to squeeze into this? But it's better to sort of list a lot of things and then squeeze it down. You remember last week we looked at that one website where it was, lineage, nourishment, community. I can't remember what it was. He kind of was able to boil down all of those values into 3 words. And so we're not going to get there, but just the idea of communicating, the most message with the least words, with the fewest words. Okay, you guys are doing a great job. Anybody else before I go on?
Belinda has her hand raised.
Oh, Belinda, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Yeah, it just really quick. As you was mentioning about like the sandwich of like, how much is too much? How many words is too much? Like, where should you like cut it off? How many sentences? How many lines? That type of thing to condense it down. What's your suggestion?
I would say that, common best practices, you can do whatever you want for your internal use, right? But how you communicate it on your website or, you know, on your menu, let's say, it's best to have it to 2 sentences, 1 or 2 sentences. So when we do work with our restaurant clients, sometimes we'll create a brand positioning statement and it's like a whole paragraph, you know, and that's a little bit more what we worked on last week. It's like, for our target audience, our brand is that makes people feel blah, blah, blah. And it's this really big thing, you know, but it's most helpful for people to read it, understand it, and digest it if you can distill it down to the top points in two sentences, even if they're long sentences. Okay. And we can, of course, go over more things at the end too. I want to make sure that we just get through this. So this, you know, we've talked about core values. Core values are, what do you really care about, both you personally, but through your business? What, you know, and we had some hot topics today already, right? Organic, local, fair trade. And I know those are important to me. And so when you guys talk about what's important to you, and we have some listed out here on the side, sort of teamwork, impact, socially conscious, inclusivity, passion, community driven, honesty, and creativity. So those are kind of key values that you guys have brought up a lot since we started. But on the other side is just like a marketer's list, let's say, of values or ideas. So I cut and pasted that in here in case you needed some inspiration, but I don't think you guys do. You guys all seem to have a pretty clear sense of what is really important to you. In terms of core values, it's best not to have more than 5. Even if you like really care about 20 things, we're talking about your core values. And if you can get it to between 3 and 5, those things that really define your business, it can just help you stay focused. So if you guys want to write down a few words, things that you really care about, your core values. So these are things that you care about and believe in that really set the guardrails for your business. They really define how you're going to operate. So for example, Blanca, if your core value is opportunity for community, it doesn't have to be one word. Your core value could be a phrase, just to be clear. It doesn't have to be distilled to one word. Then you could write a little couple sentences about what that means to you. So, you know, I specifically want to give young people opportunities and skills so that they can have better lives for themselves and their families, right? Like that might be your core value. Then as you're developing your company, you have to make sure that you stay true to that. So if, for example, if an opportunity comes up for you, but it takes you out of your community or requires, you know, ends up in a place where, for example, public transportation couldn't get people there, right? Like kids who don't have cars, or is, you know, maybe let's just say it's a bar and you have to be 21 to work there. Well, that's outside of your core values. So it's not a good business decision for you. So the purpose of putting your core values isn't just like, oh, what do I care about? I love this. It's what are the values I'm going to express through my company that will inform the business decisions that I make. Oh, is that you, Tasha? Thank you. Okay. Do you guys want to talk about core values? Does anybody want to talk about the core values they're thinking about for their company?
Yeah, share mine.
Oh, thanks, Marcy.
So I have health, love, growth, respect, and passion.
Nice. Okay. Tell us what passion means for you as your core value.
So passion to me means like something worth fighting for. Like it's like, that's what makes you go, you know, that's the motivation.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
that's what that means.
And it's a passion for what you do, right? Drives
Right,
you in your
exactly.
business. That's great. And I like that you said love. Did you ever see like Water for Chocolate? Did you ever see that movie?
No, but it sounds familiar.
It's a great movie. And you know, this woman is sort of heartbroken, but she cooks for her family all the time. And her food is incredible, memorable, delicious. Like people can't get enough of it. And when they ask her what her secret ingredient is, she always says, oh, well, I make it with love. So it's like, that's her secret ingredient. And one time I was making potato salad of all things with my two sons, and they were fighting and fighting. And I was just like, stop, you're going to make our food better with your fighting. You know, there's no love in this potato salad. People aren't going to like it.
That's
So
right.
I think that's, I love these words that you've chosen.
Oh, thank you.
And
Especially
I think,
that you said that from the movie. That's what goes through my head every time, I'm about to go into the kitchen and create. I'm like, okay, let's make sure there's no extra seasoning in this.
yeah, let me keep my salty feelings out of this. Right?
Exactly.
So, we've talked about how your core values will drive your business decisions, but they'll also shape the voice of your company and the company culture. So if your guiding principles are love and passion, hey, that's going to be a really great place to work, right? It's going to be a place where, everything's very heartfelt. So these values help us make business decisions, but also create. And so I try to steer away from too many marketing words because that can sometimes feel inauthentic, but it is a reality that you have to communicate what you're doing and your company to people out in the world. So just to say that the words that you choose and your values will help shape your brand. So just to say that too. So nice work. Thanks for sharing, Marcy.
Thank you.
Stephanie, do you feel like sharing? I think I just lost her. Okay. Anybody else willing to talk about their core values? Belinda, is that, Tracy, yes, please.
I have community, comfort, simple and fun.
Okay, that's great. And what I'm really loving is that each time you guys say something, it lines up with everything you've said so far. So comfort and simple, when you talked about your product, that's what you were expressing already. So for, simplicity could come through in business decisions in terms of, well, we don't use preservatives and we don't use artificial ingredients. Like, we keep it really simple. And comfort can be all kinds of things, but what you have expressed before, what was your point of difference, is this kind of homey, not nostalgic necessarily, but like heartfelt. Again, this kind of homey cookie. This is not like an elaborately decorated one. This is something that you are going to love to eat, like your grandmother might have made it. Like it's like eating something comforting. So I think that that's fantastic that those are the words that you came up with. Do you have any other thoughts or questions about those?
I don't right now. I know I'll have some.
Okay, great. Yeah. And the worksheet this week is much shorter and hopefully kind of more fun. It's less like homework and more of what we did the first week, where we're thinking about, okay, well, why are we doing this? And what do we really care about? And it's like the excitement again. If last week was just like, whoa, there's a lot to do here. This week is more, again, just like, yes, okay, I'm passionate and I'm excited. I'm going to do this. And these are all the reasons I want to do it. And this is where I'm going to take my business. So hopefully you will find that as you're working on it this week. Belinda, I didn't want to cut you off. Did you have your hand up or not?
I did, but I also saw Blanca raising her hand. So
okay. We have plenty of time. So please, Blanca, why don't you share? And then Belinda, if you still feel like it, you can too.
For my values, I had number one, teamwork, because since I entered the workforce right after high school, I got to be working with this nonprofit, and all the while I always had like a partner on the side, or I was working under someone. So I feel like learning to work with someone else in the kitchen or out in the field helps a lot. So it doesn't feel like you have everything just resting on your own shoulders.
Yeah.
That's a value I really, I personally am very passionate about. My other values are accessibility, opportunity, community, and creativity.
Those are great. And how will you bring creativity as a value into your business, do you think? This isn't a test. I'm just curious.
I was kind of thinking about the whole bringing certain ingredients together that don't look like they work together.
Right.
They will, examples like the carrot, orange, and ginger drink. And I also took inspiration from this cafe that opened up a few years ago near my neighborhood, where they support local artists, like they put up their artwork on their wall so anyone could either look at them or even buy them.
Oh, that's
So I
great.
want to create like a space like that for any freelance artists that just want to put their work up and hopefully get bought by someone.
And that's another way for you to give opportunity to young people, right? People and help. Oh, that's great. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Blanca. Thanks for sharing. Belinda, do you still want to share?
Okay, so I love the examples that you have there, because there were some that I never even considered, but I did write down compassion. Grace was one I never considered, but I wrote down grace, compassion, stability, integrity, and fair. I want everyone just to have a opportunity to have wholesome food. And as far as the all of them are about just going into the I guess you would call like the desert, food desert places. So I want everyone to be exposed to that, exposed to fresh, organic foods. So as far as the stability, it's about sustainability, because the food that I'm providing is to create a sustainable life, or to extend, to help with building health and sustainability. And then as I mentioned about, I wouldn't provide something to you that I wouldn't eat myself. So the integrity, fair, I want my integrity in my cooking to show that, when I say it's this 100%, organic, or it's low sugar or natural, I want that to stand out, and then just my compassion about just the human experience. Again, I'm not from an area that, an affluent area that has that type of access. And I want to go into these, to the communities that don't have that, I want to go there and share that and say, yes, you are worthy. You are, you're worthy to have the best, and not just have to settle for whatever is given to you.
No, and I think compassion can be an incredible core value for a company to have. And you don't see it that often. It reminded me that there's this place in Philadelphia, it's a pizza place. And when you come in to buy your slice, it's a buy the slice spot, you can buy a slice and pin it up on the pin board. And then somebody who doesn't have money to pay for their pizza can come in, take one of the papers off and turn it in for a free piece of pizza. And so those are the kind of ways that you can express your core values that are both real and authentic for who you are as an organization, but also communicate it to people and then foster compassion in your community. I mean, I'd love to be able to do that here, right? And so it'd probably be my 14-year-old though, just going in and being like, I'm really hungry and I don't have any money today, but which is not really where you want it to go. But just to say that, building in those expressions of the values that are tangible can be very, very powerful.
I love that you said that, because I do remember exactly when I first saw that being not promoted, but highlighted on a show. I thought that was really cool. And I would love to have something integrated in that regards. There's a young man that he's homeless, and but he's not, he has a great spirit, great work ethics, and just have some down luck, but he utilizes what he has to make money. So he goes around and he requests to wash your car. And he has a little disability, but he doesn't let that stop him. And so he's washing your car, or he will organize your car. And so he wanted to support me, and he's like, hey, it's great to see, a woman here and, trying to do her business, and I'm going to come, purchase something. And my prices are a little up there because of my product, but as far as my ingredients goes, but he was like, hey, you know what, I want to support. And so I made sure to give him like extra food and, and so when I saw him last, he was like, well, it was really good. It sustained me for a couple of days, da, da, da. And so he was requesting to wash my car. And I was like, well, it's supposed to rain, but I'll definitely look, hey, I'll do some, maybe next week, or we'll get it together. He goes, well, I do, I'll also wash your car for food, right? And I said, okay, all right, we can possibly work something out. So I would love to do some type of, program, or do something where, hey, he wants to support, but I can also give him, a healthy meal, and in return, okay, get my car washed or something like that. But at least he identifies with, I may not be able to afford it all the time, but I identify what you're doing and what you're bringing to the community, and I want to be a part of it as best as I can. So I'm definitely willing to meet people where they are.
That's great. I love that story. And, there are more, especially food-based companies, that are looking for ways to either give back or use their own, production systems for good. One that comes to mind with a company, I want to say it was called Even Stevens. It might be a little bit different, but that was my memory of what it was called. And it was a sandwich shop. And every time somebody bought a sandwich, they would give a sandwich to a shelter or to these different charitable groups. And then, of course, there's Second Harvest, where they kind of come and collect food, leftover food from restaurants at the end of the day that would otherwise be wasted, and redistribute it to people who are in need. So there's lots of ways as you grow too, that you can just think about that generosity and the compassion that you guys are talking about, because all of you have really talked about community and, that kind of generosity as part of your core values. You guys are awesome. Okay, I'm going to move on, because we're starting to run out of time, but we're actually doing great because we only have a few slides left. Okay, so just like last week, now that you guys are going to take your why and you're going to take your business and look at them together through this filter. Like, okay, I've got my why am I doing it? Now I've got my framework for how I think I'm going to do it. Let me think about where I want to go with it, what I want to do with it, what impact do I want to have with it. And so you might make changes. You might go back and say, okay, well, I thought I was going to do this, but really I'm realizing now that I've focused on my values and my what success looks like for me, I'm going to modify my business idea slightly to better fit where I want to go. So it's, kind of like an accordion. It just kind of goes in and out. As you add some more information on one side, this side might come a little closer to something else. So review or keep going with what you worked on last week, right? What are you doing? How are you going to be different? Who is it for, right? We talked about that a couple of times with Tasha and Belinda, is that like, hey, if I have a strong commitment to sourcing, then I have to make sure that I'm going to target people who can pay for it. I might be able to support people who can't pay for it by getting those people who can to pay for it. I'll figure out how to make my values work overall, but what are the business implications of some of the things that we've talked about today? So you can review your business strategy that you've been working on through the lens of your mission and your vision. Okay, so how do the values, the vision, and the mission impact the details of the guest experience? Janet talked about how some of the competitive products in the market had bad service. So we know we want our guests to have a great experience however they come to us, whether it's in Emiko's Cafe, whether they're having Tracy's cookies or Marcy's cookies. So when we think about it, how are we going to express our mission and our vision through our product, our service model, or our touch points? If you are going to be an online retailer, Janet made a great point of everybody hates a bad, like clunky ordering experience. How are you going to make things smooth for people? And how does it affect how you market and communicate your business? So these are all not new work. It's like looking back at those things now that we're doing this new work. Okay, we talked about what is success. Your worksheets are going to have you describe some short-term and long-term goals. And have you guys heard of the SMART goal system before? Okay, so that's SMART. It's specific, measurable, attainable, right? So you can't say, I want to be, you could, but a SMART goal would be, I want, to open my first cafe in this area of LA. Not by next year, I want to have 700 cafes. That's not really attainable. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and then time-based. You set yourself a deadline. Okay. So goals, let's say business objectives and goals, and then what metrics will you use to benchmark and measure those? Okay, what metrics are important for the long-term health and viability of your business? Is it the number of people hired, the number of clients built for catering or custom cookie orders? Is it a financial number? Like, you know, we've talked about how does success feel, but how are you going to measure that? You know, it could be revenue, number of sales, average order value. Like if you're trying to build something, could be the number of people following your Instagram or TikTok account. It could be press or influencer coverage picking it up. So when you set your goals, think about how you might measure it. That's like all that bullet really is about. Okay, questions on this? No, okay. So this slide is about how are we going to work towards your vision? So we know that Carissa had talked about breaking things down, right? So this is sort of a roadmap for that. So set a goal. Let's say it's, I want to start an e-commerce platform. Then you say, I want to start my e-commerce platform by August. And then you map out the steps. Okay, so I need to, you know, figure out my packaging and my shipping strategy. I need to build a website, whatever those things are. What are the steps to get to that goal? And then we'll set dates, interim dates. So if our goal is to be up and running by the end of the year, then let's, you know, list out those steps and then say, okay, by the end of 2 months, I want this, or I want to have hired this. But again, take it back to SMART, right? You want to be realistic and you want them to be attainable. And then list the action steps that match up with your goals and deadlines. I have a chart of this on the next slide, just so you guys know. Hold yourself accountable, but be flexible, right? So if you set a deadline for August and you didn't make it, you don't say, well, okay, I just didn't do it, right? You say, okay, well, I didn't make it by August. Let me push it to December. But to push it to December, I'm going to make 3 calls today to get this ball rolling, whatever it is. In order for me to feel really good about moving my deadline, I'm going to do these 3 things right now. So what is that thing? You want to be flexible, but you want to make sure that you're not giving yourself just an out, unless you really need it. I mean, that you give yourself, like, things come up in your life and you say, okay, I need to pause this for 3 months, but then set a reminder on your phone. When those 3 months are up, you know, I'm having a baby. I need to wait until that baby is born to finish this next thing. You just set yourself a reminder to come back to it. And we all have our digital tools, or we've talked about the different time management systems, you know, build yourself a system for being accountable. Okay. Goals without deadlines are just dreams. Set your deadline and work towards it. Match your goals with an action step and create an accountability system. Okay, I put together just a little framework for you guys. Oh, I can't see. Here it is. Okay. It could look like this. This is what it would look like for me, but you should put it together however it works best for you. So what is your first goal? Okay. Let's say build a website. What do we need to do to get there? Let's say you need photography. You need to hire a web designer. You need to write the content. You need to set up a bank account to take the e-commerce payments. You need to, whatever those tasks are. Okay. How do we know that we're successful? I'll know I'm successful when. Okay. So let's just say it's, you know, success criteria is I have launched by May 2024, right? So time frame. So, I mean, so example, you put in a time frame, I want it done by this deadline. The success criteria might be something different. You know, what are we going to use to measure success in that particular goal? And then resources. You know, you guys have a great network. You have people that you know, you have friends of friends, you have people you could trade cookies or food for services. You know, who is going to help you complete the task? So this is just a framework that you guys could use to think about how to put your goals together. Okay, so when you complete a goal, you can ask yourself, okay, how did that go? I'm just using the website example because we started with it. But so for example, when you get to the end of your goal, or when you've completed your task, you can say, okay, now how did that go? Like you can judge yourself a little bit. And it's all about, I'm sorry, my Zoom things are all in the wrong spot. I apologize. Let me stop sharing just for a moment and go back to the slide. I apologize. I'm coming back. Okay. Nothing like technology. Okay. So how do you know how it went? Like we've talked about how do you measure success, and we gave a couple of metrics, like whether it's, you know, number of sales or size of order or something like that, right? But when you achieve some of your interim goals, those tasks, you want to ask yourself, well, how did it go? And what can I do better next time? It's called like this continuous improvement cycle. And so one way to look at it is what they call a SWOT analysis. There's a lot of corporate stuff today. So SWOT is, you know, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So a strength would be something that went really well. So for example, back to the website, let's just pretend that's our thing that we're doing our SWOT analysis on. It could be that writing went really well, writing about the product. We've done all of our work on our mission, our vision, our values. It made it really easy. So it was really strong in terms of communicating it. Weakness might have been a lack of technical understanding of how the website worked, and you really had to lean on someone else to build that for you. Opportunities will be things where something, you know, something came up and you realized, oh, I hadn't thought about that before, but that's an opportunity for me. So for example, with the website, it might be a partnership with a new graphic designer, or a chance to, what are the opportunities that arose during the course of that? So it might be that there was, you know, a content creator that you partnered with, or different things that you kind of learned that you didn't know before you started this process. So some opportunity that came up with it that'll help you with other steps of your process. And then threats might be things that negatively impacted or were roadblocks in terms of completing that particular goal. So the threat in this case might be that you had to do photography and you didn't understand, although it's funny, Jasmine's not on the call because she's a food stylist, but when you go to do photography for a website, there's all these things that go into it. Are you going to take away the background? You know, do you want to have consistent lighting? So threats might be something that kind of came up as an obstacle. And so in this example, I'm just suggesting that it was like the photography was more expensive or more complicated than anticipated. So SWOT analysis is just a framework for doing an analysis of anything, right? You could do a SWOT analysis on your business idea, you know, if you wanted to, but it really is a good way to check in to see how your different goals are, check in on, debrief is the word I'm looking for. I'm sorry. Kind of learn from each step that you go through, each time you complete a goal or each time you complete a task. It's a way to check in and learn from it instead of just constantly pivoting, like, oh, that didn't go very well, or oh, that was really great. You know, what are we learning and what are we taking from that into the next step? That'll help you be more organized in your thinking. Okay, so now I've covered kind of a framework for business goals and SWOT analysis. I want to open it up to you guys for questions on either of those things. Okay, good. You guys seem, do you understand this? Does this make sense? Yeah, okay, I'm getting some nods. Okay. Okay. And then write it down and make it happen. You guys have your worksheets. There is something really powerful about putting your thoughts onto paper and also putting your intentions down. You know, it's kind of like when people write their New Year's resolutions. When you just say, oh, I'm going to do this, it's different than saying, I'm going to do this, and here are the 5 steps I'm going to take to do that, and I'm going to do those 5 steps by June. So, you know, when you think about your goals and you write them down, it helps you navigate potential risks and obstacles. You can kind of see them coming and get them out of your way. So the worksheets will help create that framework. But, you know, in terms of getting your vision, on paper, you think big. You know, what does success look like? Think really big. You can take a lot of small steps to get there, but don't limit yourself. You guys have done an amazing job in this course, and you keep showing up at 4 o'clock on Mondays and Thursdays to keep it going. So you're obviously putting the time and effort in to really think about it. And I hope that you're finding that it's helpful to get it out on paper. Write your goals down and trust that you have the power inside of you to make them happen, because I definitely believe in you guys. Okay, we have just a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we went over or anything at all? Janet, was that a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, this was super helpful. If anything, I feel like there's a, it's really helping me kind of, anyways, my question is not related to actually the mission and value. Like, I feel like this is a daunting project that I'm excited to dive into, is my point. But I have this ongoing discussion with a close friend of mine who is also an aspiring entrepreneur. And I came up with a concept just recently that has nothing to do with this kimchi paste. And we had this ongoing conversation about like product versus brand, like where do you start with your vision? And so it's a heated debate. We're not talking to each other right now.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm not going to talk to him for a few days because I'm going to break from him, because we are obviously on very opposite sides of the spectrum on this. But I really wanted to just like hear what you think behind, like, it's hard for me to articulate what brand really is because people connect with brands in such different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I work with wholesale partners, and so I see a lot of sort of this commitment to starting a brand. I'm like, you got to open your first brick and mortar first and like commit to like values or commit to like great customer service or delivering a great product before the idea of like brand. But I don't know how to like, and I could be wrong about that, but I would just love to hear from your perspective, like the importance of brand.
Sure. So, you know, it's funny because I think that brand means different things to different people. And so there's like the brand identity visually, like what does it look like? What does the graphic design look like? What are those touch points? So I think that that is important, but I wouldn't lead with that. You know, I wouldn't like start with the look of the brand and then dial backwards to create what I wanted. You know, in the work that I do for restaurants, and I strongly believe in this, the process that I took you guys through, I think, you know, the word brand is like a summary for all of the things that we're doing. It's like a catch-all phrase for, you know, what do you offer? Who are you for? What do you represent? What do you care about? And so if we go back to like the pizza example from last week, where, you know, they all sell pizza, but they're really different products and really different brands. Because of that, I think that, you know, when I think of a brand development and concept development, let's just say the brand is the thinking behind it. So we're a brand who cares about these things. We're a brand who's really great at these things. We're a brand that offers these things. It's like you do the thought work, which creates the brand, and then the concept is how you translate that brand into the guest, like the physical world. So just to say that a different way, like, I know I mentioned this before. So the work that I do with my clients is we create a brand positioning statement, which is very similar to the work that I've done with you. So, you know, it might be, you know, my, on Blanca, I'm going to use yours for a minute. So Blanca's Agua Frescas is especially for people who are looking for a refreshing fruity drink that's not a soda at events in LA, right? So it's kind of like you define that target audience, but then we care about these things. We care about, opportunity, whatever, like this is our brand, but the concept is how you use those brand filters to create the real world experience of it. So If we know we're for our target audience is thirsty people who don't want a soda at events, well, then our concept has to be in those places. And if we know that we care about giving opportunity to young people and to promoting, you know, farm fresh fruits and vegetables in our beverages, then we have to source from those places and be in places where kids can work with us. So it's like the brand is the thinking and the underpinning, and the concept or the product, the result, the restaurant, the catering service is the manifestation of those things in the real world. So it's kind of like very esoteric, but hopefully that makes sense. But I do think, you know, I've seen it both ways where it's like, you know, like last week, Tasha gave us the example of, oh no, actually might have been, I don't remember now who gave us the example, but like the vegan pork belly, that was so great. Well, that person had a product that they didn't really intend to start a business with, but a business built itself around the product, right? So sometimes that happens, but more often it's successful when you've thought about all those other things first. And I know we've all been into cafes that are quirky and great and fun, and you're like, oh, this is like so random. This is really great. And then you've walked into other places where it's like, it all lines up, you know, the drinks that they offer, the space that they offer it in, you know, the music in the room, like all those things line up. And that's when you've got like a thoughtful brand underpinning, but it doesn't have to be negative. And it doesn't necessarily mean the visual graphic design of it. That's branding. That's not like the brand. Okay, I'm sorry. And I took your time. I went over by 3 minutes, but I'm happy to hang on if anybody has other questions.
That was great. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, Janet. It's my pleasure. Well, thanks you guys for showing up today. It's such a pleasure. We meet again on Thursday at 4 to review your mission, vision, values, and anything else you guys want to talk about. If you do revisions to your business stuff over the week, I'm happy to go through it with you. And I hope you have an awesome couple of days until I see you again.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you
So much, you guys.
Thank
have a
you.
great night.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.